I reconvene our ordinary council meeting for the 17th of February, as stated, at 8:15 p.m. at the Kalgoorlie Town Hall. Council were up to considering item 15.4.3, the Local Heritage Fund, 127 Burt Street in Boulder. We don't have a recommendation which is presented as we went to a further consultation at a council workshop. However, we do have an officer recommendation now to present. Councillor Winner, you wish to move the officer recommendation? Seconder to the officer recommendation? Councillor Johnson. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this point in time, I am moving this motion to allow debate. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconder? Wish to speak? No, thank you. Speaker for the motion? Speaker against the motion? Councillor Turner?
So, through the Mayor, I'm going to speak against the motion, and it's not that I'm not supportive of the Palace Theatre receiving funds. Under our policy, we're very restricted in how much we can give them. They've applied for $40,000. Under the policy, unfortunately, we can only give them $5,000. I'm very hesitant to move a motion that goes against policy because I just think it's setting precedents and we've got too many things, but I'd rather that the policy was reviewed in future and that the applicants perhaps come back and apply again once that policy has been reviewed. So that is why I am speaking against it. It's not that I'm not supportive of them having funds at some stage. I think giving them $5,000 is totally pointless. It does not help their project at all, and it possibly by giving them that money would negate them being able to apply to the city under our policies for any further funding.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Deputy Mayor, wish to speak? You're making an alternate motion. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Basically that we approve the Heritage Fund as per the officer's recommendation for 127 Burt Street, Boulder, and to be, I suppose, considered in conjunction with the Palace Theatre group so that there's not an amount, a definitive amount on this, but we get to work through this under the guide of the policy with the applicant.
All right, let's summarise that. The officer recommendation, alternative recommendation as put by Deputy Mayor, that council, jump in here where you need to, that council approve the Local Heritage Fund policy application for repairs to the Palace Theatre at 127 Burt Street, Boulder. Now you're suggesting to the value of $5,000 be scrapped? To the value to be agreed by all parties. Mr. CEO, I see that open to interpretation as much as possible almost, but Mr. CEO, do you have some assistance with wording on that for the Deputy Mayor?
Through Mr. Mayor, I think the approach might be better to request the CEO to meet with the Palace Theatre group and work through the application to determine what is feasible within the confines of the existing policy.
Right. Do we have an opportunity to think on our feet with some fast typing here? Just so we're clear, I just want to get that on the screen, councillors, before we consider. I'll run out of notes on my page, of. Just for those watching at home, we're just awaiting a bit of a catch-up on the screen, which is there now. Councillors, the alternative motion is put, Deputy Mayor, for your clarification, was that the alternative motion still include part of the officer recommendation, or was your alternative motion as simple as what was put in that alternative? Alternative, okay. Or amended motion. Okay, right. Now let's get a little bit tricky. A foreshadowed motion, right? So it's a foreshadowed motion from the Deputy Mayor. We do have the live motion, which is current. I need a separate piece of paper. Okay. The officer recommendation was moved by Councillor Winner, seconded by Councillor Johnson. Councillor Turner spoke against the officer recommendation. The Deputy Mayor has posted a foreshadowed motion. Should the item not get up this evening? Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. Can I ask for an explanation as to why this is a foreshadowed motion, not an alternative motion? Because my understanding of this should be an alternative motion, given that how it was raised.
Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor. The original wording that Deputy Mayor had come up with would have probably been an amendment to the existing motion. However, it wouldn't have worked. The issue around it is in relation to the policy specifically identifies $5,000 as the amount. This approach is to actually meet with the group and identify other opportunities to actually make this work for them. So it's taking it away a little bit from the existing policy and the constraints that has to try and make it work.
Yep. And it's a different, it's not really much from the original. Yep. Thank you. Councillor Boddicker, do you have a question? Yes, can you turn your microphone on, please?
I can't actually read. Can you just read out
the foreshadowed
Deputy
motion
Mayor's
that the Deputy
foreshadowed
Mayor
motion?
put forward, Councillor Boddicker, is now larger on the screen, but that council requests the CEO to meet with the group, which would be the Palace Theatre, to see what is feasible for funding opportunities in accordance with the local heritage policy. Thank you. That is foreshadowed from the Deputy Mayor. Ooh, question.
So just, my understanding is we'll deal with the first motion.
Correct.
And if that's lost.
If that's lost,
we
then
vote
the
against
foreshadowing
it,
becomes
we'll deal
live.
with the foreshadowed
Yes,
motion.
correct. So we are still on the officer recommendation, which was moved by Councillor Winner, seconded by Councillor Johnson. We've had a speaker against. Is there a speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? The mover has the right of reply.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I began previously, I'm actually going to be speaking against this motion, although I did move it, and also vote against this motion at this point in time, as I don't think that what is being proposed will go anywhere near what is actually needed to address the required repairs, with the actual cost anticipated to be well over $100,000. I recognise that the policy restricts council from providing what is being requested from the applicant, and would rather take the time to first revisit and possibly revise the policy to allow for a greater scope of support to buildings identified as significant to the city of Kalgoorlie-Boulder. To approve funding tonight would, in my opinion, make it very difficult to provide funding later for the same project, and the small band-aid offered by this motion will not actually help to preserve and restore this wonderful asset. It is not our place as a council to make decisions that could hamstring an organisation without further discussion with them and work to be done on the policy. I must stress, work must be done on the policy prior to any conversations. Let's first review things at our ends and then work with the Palace Theatre Committee on a more sustainable outcome moving forward and potentially explore other partners which could assist outside the city's capacity. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Winner. Most of that was not a right of reply. It was more of probably a moving. I'll let you go on because there was a bit going on tonight. You're welcome. As there has been dissent, councillors, those in favour of the officer recommendation as put, please raise your hand. Those against? 8-0, the item is lost. Or 0-8, the item is lost. Therefore, we have a foreshadowed motion by the Deputy Mayor. Deputy Mayor, you wish to speak? Do we have a seconder to the Deputy Mayor's foreshadow? Thank you, Councillor Boddicker. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My foreshadowed motion is that council requests the CEO to meet with the applicant to see what is feasible for funding opportunities in accordance with the local heritage policy. Before I proceed, could I have a question regarding my own?
I'll consider your question to your own recommendation.
My understanding is that the local heritage funding policy is actually the catalyst for this not being able to move forward. Could we take that out because that then restricts it back to the $5,000? So are we looking at all funding opportunities?
So you're going on an amendment to your foreshadowed motion. Some great train tracks, isn't it, Mr. CEO? Over to you.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Through the Mayor, in relation to this one, the original application is based around the local heritage policy and the grants for that. Going back and working with them may simply identify changes that need to be made to the policy and bring that back so council can actually pick up on those issues. I think that's the starting point. If we can't find anything under the policy, we'll bring it back to council for further consideration. But it really should start around the heritage policy. That's what it's about.
Thank you. I'm happy to stay with my foreshadowed motion on the screen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Viskovich, have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to clarify, so if we find that they can't go any further with the local heritage fund, they could potentially remove their application and go through another alternative section to
Yes.
apply.
Thank you. Seconder was Councillor Bodica.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to support the Deputy Mayor's motion because I think given that this is such an important project with, historic Art Deco facades and, it's got a long history within Boulder, that we should be exploring every avenue. And I think that, for us to get the CEO to go ahead with some discussions to see about other avenues of funding is definitely the way ahead. So,
Thank you, Councillor Bodica. Speaker against? Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Much like the previous motion, I won't be supporting this foreshadowed motion tonight, as I still feel we should not be meeting with applicants until such time as the city's own policies are reviewed and corrected. What is being proposed of the CEO can be done under the CEO's own delegation and does not need a council resolution. I think it overcomplicates things. I'd rather see a motion brought back to council at a time when both policy and conversations are had and sorted through. This motion, in my opinion, does not allow this to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker 4, Councillor Turner.
Yes, through the Mayor, I'll be supporting the Deputy Mayor's foreshadowed motion. I understand the sentiments that Councillor Winner has raised. However, I don't see any way forward for this applicant unless they can meet with the CEO and find their opportunities. If the local heritage fund is not appropriate, I would trust that the CEO will either direct council on the issues with the policy and bring it back to us, or they'll direct the applicant to another possible stream of funding. Given that some questions raised by Councillor O'Donnell last week at our agenda briefing raised how much money we still have in that local heritage fund. The money's been put there for it to be utilised. I don't want it rolled over every year. I want those opportunities explored on how we can look at spending it. If there does need to be a review of policy, well, we can address that. Something like the Palace Theatre is something that whilst it may be a not-for-profit group that has ownership of it, it's a community asset. It's a community asset that some of us here that have grown up in Kalgoorlie perhaps used, and look, our grandkids might be using it. It's something that needs to be preserved, and as a local council, we don't have to own everything to assist people in doing it, and there's no point putting these funds in place if there's no way for people to utilise the funds, and our policies are so restrictive. So I'll trust the CEO will look at a way, whether they have to withdraw their application and apply through something else, that he'll look at a way that we can help this group.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Speaker against? Speaker 4? Speaker against? Speaker 4? Before the mover has the right of reply, I'll just pick up on a couple of things. I just want to congratulate Councillor Winner for his pick-up originally back in October on the matter. I think that was very encouraging and ensures that Council are much more informed on it. However, I think the CEO's discussing policy review before we probably bring it back at the same time, which probably answers some of the questions. Councillor Turner, you mentioned grandkids. Well, I'm going to have to wait probably 30 plus years for my grandkids to be at the Palace Theatre, but I appreciate yours will probably be there on this weekend. Deputy Mayor. Councillors, we do have dissent to this particular item as earmarked. Mr CEO, just confirming it's still under simple majority. There's nothing else complicated about it. Those in favour of the foreshadowed motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those against? 1, 2, 3. Carried 5-3. 1544 Event Strategy 2025-2027. Councillor, I believe there might be an alternative motion here from Councillor Turner.
Yes, Mr Mayor, thank you. I would like to move an alternative motion that, I'm not sure, I have to ask the CEO how we go about this, that the strategy that we look at is that we include the following in there, and whilst appreciating staff have done a lot of work on this, that Kids Fest, I would like that to be changed from biannual to annual, and I know that that's a significant cost. However, and I've had other councillors say we do plenty for the community.
Sorry, no debate.
Okay.
What's your
Annual?
alternative?
So can we change, Kids Fest is changed to annual, and that we include another event for looking at possibilities of a New Year event, whether that's moving one of our other events to New Year?
No debate?
I don't know how to do it. I'm asking.
That's right. Mr CEO, there's a document that's presented at the same time here as well, which is an event strategy which has already been put together. That would alter that event strategy quite a lot and then may have some long-term financial implications as well. Any details, Mr CEO, to the amended changes from Councillor Turner?
Through you, Mr Mayor, the changing the Kids Fest in particular is a significant financial impost. The New Year's Eve one, I haven't looked at that at all yet. My suggestion would probably be to push this back to the next ordinary meeting to give staff time to have a look at those two figures.
Yep.
And come back with a revised position.
Yep.
Councillor Turner, would you like to move an alternative motion for the matter to come back to council in, or is there a
Yes. Sorry, a procedural motion?
procedural, Mr CEO, can we move, do we need to get it for debate first, don't we?
Through you, Mr Mayor, it could just be an alternate motion that council request the event strategy be returned to the March ordinary meeting and to include the implications of the changing to Kids Fest event and inclusion of a New Year's Eve event.
Sure.
So it'll come back to the next meeting.
So happy with that, Councillor Turner?
Yeah, I am happy with that because, as I said, I understood there could be budget implications. I just don't know how to talk to it because I'd like to talk to it.
Just make sure that the minute secretary can get a motion up.
Not endorse it. You can't endorse it. On there originally.
So just finalising that alternative motion to be adjusted.
It might be removed one of our other extras. Our sound check. Yeah, and the first one wasn't very well attended. The second two were. And the first one was good. It was something else. It's very well received.
Sorry, councillors, I was just in conversation with the Deputy Mayor. Alternate,
Mr. Mayor,
Through Mr Mayor, it needs to be the annual Kids
Yep.
Fest, rather than biannual.
yeah. Opportunities for... Council requests the event strategy to be returned to the 17th of March 2025 Ordinary Council meeting, having investigated opportunities for an annual Kids Fest and inclusion of New Year's Eve events.
Do we need to put
Ste-
financial implications? Yes.
Yep. Opportunities and financial implications, please, Minute Secretary. Okay, so Councillor Turner, your alternative motion is presented on the screen. Those viewing at home will be able to view that as well, alongside the rest of Council. Are you happy with that alternative motion? Thank you. Moved, councillors, just a point of order. We have Councillor Turner's alternative motion, which captures her piece before. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Turner's motion? Councillor Winner. Councillor Turner, over to you. Now you can talk.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So whilst appreciating that our staff have done an enormous amount of work on the event strategy, and that we did speak with staff at a concept forum in August, I believe, about this, I feel the gap between August and now, with councillors not having an understanding of where we were going with it, we've had a little gap there. I would like the CEO to investigate this policy and the strategy, bearing in mind that there could be financial implications. So we'd like to be aware of those before we set our budgets. It may involve that we rejuggle our series of events here and something gets swapped. The reason I'd like a New Year's Eve event looked at and included is that for a long time there's been a lot of commentary in the community that there's nothing to do till late January and there's nothing that happens from that Christmas period to the end of January. We still have a lot of residents that stay in Kalgoorlie-Boulder over that period. These residents are people that are keeping our city operating when a lot of other people go away, and I'd like to think that there's some reward and something for their families to do in that period. Increasingly, we're seeing after Christmas that people that have perhaps decided to stay here over that period gets after Christmas and they go, there's nothing happening. You know what? I'm going to go away too. I'd also like city staff to perhaps there may be businesses or organisations that want to come on board and become partners with this to reward our community that actually stays here during that long summer break and having something to do, and it may well encourage people to stay in Kalgoorlie-Boulder and spend their money over that holiday period as well, then leave the city. We want our city to stay as vibrant as possible and we want to be encouraging people to stay here during that period.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to start by saying that I feel city staff should be very, very proud of this very successful events calendar. And I am very, very excited by the Kaleidoscope project, which is earmarked to be Kalgoorlie-Boulder's first ever hallmark event. That being said, I feel that Kids Fest in particular, as a major project within our community for that particular age group, needs to be an annual event, not every 2 years. The benefit to our community of this event is enormous, and it is a draw card for people outside of our community to also attend and spend money within our community. With that being said, I also don't think council needs to be the ones to deliver it every year. Would love to see a tender process moving forward go out and invite the private and not-for-profit sector to take the lead in delivering projects such as this and a number of others on behalf of the city, therefore creating greater business opportunities and partnerships moving forward. We do a lot of great things here in the city, along with some things that don't quite hit the mark. However, our events have always been among some of the best in the state. Retaining our Kids Fest along with other events as an annual event is really important in my opinion to value adding to our community and contributing to making it the great place it is to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Before the mover has the right of reply. Councillors, the long-term financial plan impacts are probably pretty substantial. You're looking at the moment that an investment of $1 million in the city's long-term financial plan budgeted across 26-27 and 27-28 for strategic investment. That's just Christmas lights. So any adjustment to that is going to be significant. Mr. CEO, just a question to take in regards to that. does our staff EBA affect staff participation or staff working across that Christmas and New Year period, as highlighted by the by Councillor Turner?
Through you, Mr Mayor, no, we don't have a scheduled shutdown or anything like that. It'll just be simply overtime and rostering staff.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. That's all. Whoever has a right to reply.
Yes, through the Mayor, I'd just like to thank the Mayor for that added remarks and commentary there. And whilst I do appreciate there is budgetary implications, which is why I think it's important to go back, it's also important perhaps I hope some of our bigger organisations and businesses are also paying attention to what perhaps happens in this meeting, and they might want to come on as partners to support the city in this, because as Councillor Winner said, we don't have to be the main driver here. There's plenty of organisations and companies that might also want to look at being a partner with the city here and rewarding their staff that keep their operations going over that period for the benefit of the wider community.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. No dissent to that, councillors? Carried 8-0. 15.4.5 Bushfire Risk Management Plan. We have an officer recommendation. Mover of the officer recommendation? Councillor Viskovich. Seconder, Councillor Winner. Councillor Viskovich, you wish to speak? Councillor Winner, you wish to speak? Any discussion, councillors? No? No dissent? Carried 8-0. Item 15.4.6, change of use holiday house, lot 4788, number 2 Davyhurst Drive in Hannons. Councillors, we have an officer recommendation. A mover of the officer recommendation. Move, Councillor O'Donnell. Seconder. Councillor Viskovich. Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to speak? No. Councillor Viskovich, you wish to speak? No. Any discussion, councillors? No dissent? Carried 8-0. 15.4.7 was part of the en bloc. 15.4.8 is a change of use, family daycare centre, lot 3994, number 7 Burton Place in West Lamington. Do I have a mover for the officer recommendation? Move, Councillor O'Donnell. Seconder, Councillor Winner. Councillor O'Donnell? No. Councillor Winner? No. Any discussion, councillors? No discussion, no dissent? Carried 8-0. Item 15.4.9, Councillor Viskovich has declared a financial interest and will depart the chambers. Councillors, we have an officer recommendation. However, we have an amended recommendation from Councillor Turner. Councillor Turner, do you wish to put your amended motion?
Yes, just my amended motion would be in the officer's recommendation. In point 1, we've got that we will advertise it for a period of 2 weeks. I would like to extend that to 4 weeks. That's
all. Thank you. Councillor Winner, you wish to second? Yep. Councillor Turner. So it's an amended motion to the officer.
Okay, so I'd just like to speak to the amended motion. I'd like to extend that for a period of 4 weeks. While I'm very supportive of the disposal of this land in some form, and I'm also very supportive that it becomes housing, as we need more housing, and for someone to come along that wants to develop it and have that those houses will then be available to either rent or purchase. I feel that that's very important. I don't feel that a period of 2 weeks is enough, purely because whilst I appreciate that the land's been there's been a lot of commentary around the land, and anybody could have approached the council with a market-led proposal. I feel that in the community there has been a lack of understanding that this land was still available, and a lot of possible proponents may have thought that it was still under hold to a mining company, and that there may be, whilst appreciating that the proponent originally applied, there may be other proponents that are now also interested in it. And just for it to be fair and equitable, I just think a 4-week period is better.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Councillor Winner?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I feel that the amendments offered by Councillor Turner tonight is both fair and will result in minimal impacts to council's desired outcomes. I'd encourage all councillors to support Councillor Turner with this amended motion tonight, and let's see some really great outcomes for our community in the potential development of this land. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker against the motion? Speaker for? Speaker against? Before the mover has a right of reply, just one question. Mr CEO, is the 2-week period just to bring to March OCM, this will now take it to April, or would it be been in the April timeline?
Through you, Mr Mayor, it'll come back through to the April meeting.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Mover has a right of reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, for asking the CEO on that point of clarification. I still don't have any problem with it coming back to the April meeting instead of the March meeting. I don't think a lot would happen in that 4 weeks anyway, given how long the land has been there and it's had nothing happen to it.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. No dissent, councillors, to the item. Carried 7-0. Can we have Councillor Viskovich back, please? (15.4.10) was part of the en bloc. 15.4.11 is the final adoption of scheme amendment number 1. There is an officer recommendation. Councillors, do I have a mover? No mover, Councillor. Move Councillor O'Donnell. Seconder. 15.4.11. 15.4.11. It's the final adoption of scheme amendment number 1. We've got Councillor O'Donnell who's moved it. Second is Councillor Turner. Councillor O'Donnell, wish to speak? Councillor Turner, wish to speak? No? Any discussion, councillors? No? No dissent? Carried 8-0. Councillors, we do have one item to consider as part of confidential this evening. (15.4. That was it. That was it. Yep, 15.4.10 was on block. That does take us, Mr. Sir. We are in line. Yes, up to the confidential. We will pause here, councillors. Do I have a motion? Motion. Excellent. That's a motion to move into confidential. Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Moving that. Seconder, Councillor Johnson. No dissent, councillors? No, we're into camera. Carried 8-0. Thank you. thank you for the media for waiting patiently this evening as we are in a confidential item. Item 17.1 is regarding lot 500 101 Brookman Street, Kalgoorlie. It was considered under confidential items. The full amended recommendation will be presented in the minutes. However, a summary is that Council moved an amended recommendation to authorise the CEO to enter into an option deed in regards to lot 500 101 Brookman Street. The date of the next ordinary council meeting will be St Patrick's Day, the 17th of March 2025. Councillors, feel free to wear your best greenery. I'm sure Councillor Winner's already thinking about that at this stage. And councillors, I will close tonight's meeting and thank you for your attendance. Thank you, staff, at 9:04 p.m.